What started off as little ticks turned into hundreds of seizures each day for 4-year-old Chloe. Her parents were distraught, but determined to find a cure.
Chloe was my second child, and at about 14 months old when she started walking, not only did she move her feet constantly to keep herself in balance, she had her arms held up over her head. We just thought, okay, she's gonna do it differently. I was 7 months into my pregnancy with my third child when I noticed she had these sort of tics, these sort of quick head nods. Her head would dip down and then her eyes would flutter. They just sort of were every now and then. And so I just thought she would grow out of it. And then it started to be every day, multiple times a day. In her 3-year checkup in the doctor's office, she had a tick in front of him. And he looked at me and was like, I don't think that's just a tick. We need to see what kind of activity is going on in her brain. At that point, it really kind of got real for me. They're going to be hooking her up to this machine. She's going to have electrodes glued to her head. And we get a call that she does have abnormal activity. One morning, I couldn't wake her up. She was just sort of in this catatonic state, very lethargic, very limp. I immediately called her pediatrician and he said, Brandy, I think she's had a seizure. It was heartbreaking and terrifying all at the same time. Immediately, they started giving her anti-seizure medication. And after about 3 months, we started noticing it wasn't helping. She was on the highest dosage and along with it, all the side effects of those medicines. She was having up to 200 to 300 seizures per day, and she was beginning to fall with them. She did have to wear a helmet pretty much every day. It was terrifying. She was officially diagnosed with GLUT1 deficiency 1 month after her 4th birthday. The doctors did tell us that there is no cure. I imagined this little girl dancing and picking out a prom dress and a wedding dress, and all of that reality came sort of crashing down because I thought that maybe that's not going to happen. We were immediately referred over to a specialist who did tell us that we may have an alternative treatment. And he had an oil that was in clinical trial. It was just castor bean oil, and that she would take it orally. It seemed definitely too good to be true. How could it work?
Well, we are happy to report that the trial, it was successful. It Chloe's recovery. A miracle. Chloe's mother, Brandy, joins us. And Brandy, your smile speaks 1,000 words. How is Chloe?
She is awesome. She is happy and vibrant and sassy.
Oh, that's great. And this oil works so quickly.
It did. Within, less than an hour of her ingesting the oil, she began talking in full sentences. The first thing that she said to me was, Mommy, I'm hungry. I want Chick-fil-A.
So before this, she was speaking to you, she couldn't hold those sentences, but seizing, what was it like?
She was having so many seizures a day that it absolutely interrupted everything that she did. So no, she really wasn't talking very much because she couldn't. And then she was having these 1 to 2 hour meltdowns because she was just so frustrated and she couldn't talk and she couldn't get anything out what she wanted to say. It was just really hard for her to communicate.
And it seems so inexplicable. How can just, hey, let's take some oil and an hour later I'm going to be good, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. With this GLUT1 deficiency, it's actually short for glucose transporter deficiency. And what that is, it's a genetic defect in the little protein that allows the glucose to get into the brain cells. And in everybody else, your brain has to use glucose for energy. But in Chloe, that glucose couldn't get in there, so the brain cells were starved for energy, causing seizures and developmental delay and problems like that. But the way that oil works, simply the liver breaks it down into something called ketones. You've probably all heard of ketones, which the brain can use as an alternative source of energy. Problem solved.
So within an hour, she had the energy that her brain needed, was able to shut the seizures off, and she gets to live her life now using a different fuel source for her brain. And we have to give a shout out to Dr. Juan Pascual and his team in the UT Southwestern Medical Center and Children's Medical Center. They're the ones responsible for these findings with castor bean oil. What's really cool is the participants in this study, they've all improved and have had a big reduction in seizure activity. This is medicine at its best.